Hey everybody, Hermie here. I just got back from a few day long trip with the Gooms. Had a great time, and I thought I should probably finally decide to record the thing I said I'd be recording for 2 weeks. I'm going to do a brief rundown of every single non-captain in STC on this sheet. This might be slightly outdated as of tonight, but those are tier 4, so who really cares? Uh, we are going to get started with MrDucky. MrDucky is the perennial put him on any tank tier 4 top lane, he'll do fine. He's got a mean Malphite, mean Ornn. Some of the Ornn combos can be a little bit scuffed, but from what I see, MrDucky is a pretty easy guy to work with if he gets his goons on his team. I don't really remember any attitude issues, and for a ADC that's tier 4, he doesn't really get blown away by many other higher elo ADCs. I expect him still to be like 9th or 10th round pick, probably tier 4, but I think he is going to have another solid season. Really, I don't think anybody's going to have an issue drafting him. Some people might have an issue drafting is the homie Keeylo. I think Keeylo is another person who should probably be picked higher end of tier 4. He is definitely better than a lot of the tier 4 top laners. He is very outspoken, has lots of opinions that he can't really support, which some people, they don't get along with so well. I think the strength of Keeylo is his ability to recognize that freezes and wave state sort of thing. And he is honestly harder to like if he has like a solid matchup, he's harder to play against than most other tier 4 top laners. Captains that might want to draft Keeylo or captains that want a I'm trying to be kind. Captains that want a top laner that probably isn't going to have to be the primary top laner. If you have like Striker Zone, then you have Keeylo. That's probably a solid situation. YushiYoshi, I've only played against a few times, but from what I understand is he is a pretty solid laner. I played against his Jonas, my Ivern, and he didn't get solo killed more than once, so that is solid. He has, from what I understand, he's pretty workable, has a solid attitude. Looks like he's playing more bot lane than top lane this season, which is where I've seen him, so best of luck to him. Yeah, really not too much to say, but he plays some pretty nice champions, honestly. If he picks Malzahar and Vayne every game, those champs are pretty neat. We're going to move on to Arikeci. Arikeci has been in SDC for a few seasons. I actually wrote down, he was on NCOG last season? Yeah, he's tier 3, 18 points last season, and I've heard about him mostly being a top laner. Oh yeah, Akshan player. Yeah, we can move on. That's enough. We don't talk about those. Luke. Luke has previously been the jungler of the previous Death Guards team. He started off not really impressing me, except when Prof Pocket was on his team, but I think he really came into his own. Champions like Hecarim, champions like Viego. I think he had pretty solid Graves. Yeah, pretty solid Graves. He likes these aggro, divey, like red and magic champions that like to go onto a backline and just cause a bunch of havoc and hopefully live for a little bit, being able to take over team fight after that. He's pretty good at that. I don't think his pathing is always the most consistently strong thing, but what I do think he excels at is being able to coordinate his laners to bash their heads into other people, and if they want to bash their heads in, they'll probably come off on top. What I would look to draft Luke with is probably he could definitely go tier 2, like lower tier 2, and if you get people that are on the same wavelength as him, he'll actually look really good, I promise. We're going to go on to Jack Limestone from television. Jack Limestone, I've played flex with him a few times. He is a pretty solid laner. I don't think his team fighting is always the most consistent or reliable, but he's usually really far ahead, so it doesn't always matter. Jack Limestone, he's D2, he's been climbing quite a bit, doing really well from what I've seen from him. He should probably be picked up like mid to high tier 2. I imagine that's where he's going, like 4th or 5th round. I think if you get Jack Limestone as your primary ADC, you won't regret anything. He doesn't really have any problems from comms from what I've seen from him, and he gets along with pretty much everybody. Maybe he's a big diva and I just don't recognize it, but I doubt that's the case. Consideration used to be Rifle from quite a while ago. He plays lots of Katarina, had an Ashe that was memed a little bit, but nothing to hold against him. Uh, he's D4 now, mostly playing Kha'Zix and Katarina. That's interesting. It's going to be a bot mid, so I imagine we'll see more Ashe. Imagine we'll see more Ezreal. It looks to favor the Samira. He doesn't really play lots of League of Legends from what it looks like. He's played a couple of games of solo queue, but I would like to see him play a bit more ADC before we like really get a confident read on him. Rifle, from what we saw of him before, was usually tier 3. Could be a solid low tier 2 player as well. Really just depends on what he decides to show. Happy to see him back though. Hopefully he does well. Coppellia. Coppellia was on Fairy Tail, I'm pretty sure, as a tier 2 20-point player. The really impressive thing about Coppellia is you see a gold player, but what you don't see is that he actually had a 73% win rate over, I think it was, yeah, 30 games in STC, which is fucking crazy. That's one of the highest. I think the only people with the similar amount of games that are higher are Tip of the Spear. This is really impressive, and I think he's pretty undervalued. I would definitely recommend picking up Coppellia. I've played a couple games with him, never really ran into any problems. Pretty solid ADC, depending on where you can get him. Tibbers and Parrot, he has like 30 accounts. He didn't link them properly. That's okay. I, Ellen, you already know I peak D. So he keeps saying he peaks D1. I'm not certain that's true, but Dlom is the homie. He likes playing Mage's bot lane. He has a pretty solid ADC champ pool as well. He just doesn't like playing them as much. I think the best champion I've seen him on is probably his MF. He can really take over team fights and he can lane with anybody. If supports are lower skill level than him, he doesn't really care that much if they are in coordinated play. He's a bit of a solo queue rager, but I sincerely doubt you'll really run into that many problems. If you get him something like MF, like Vayne, he can 1v9 games. Also, he has the versatility to flex mages into bot lane, which I think is really strong. He can play stuff like Karthus, he can play stuff like Victor. It's really solid pickup. I think he should absolutely go tier 2. Gonna move on to 8yen. 8yen returning to STC, bot support this time. Interesting place for him to go. I imagine he might have the fill role put on himself because he's obviously been a mid laner and a top laner before. I don't think he's played these roles before. Looks like he has pretty solid mages and Lux, Victor, and Vex, but I honestly don't know about how he'll perform in these places. He has a perception of the game I usually agree with. I'm surprised to see him here. Let's see how it goes. I would probably pick him up like late tier 3 in these roles if he's still around. I'm happy to see young Scoobaroo back. He's played on threat level Midnight before. He's one of the goons with myself, Darbu, Ian, those people. I think the last time he played was on the lone routine, the Dunkin' Donuts in season 8. The cool thing about SKUB is he can go 1 and 12 and still be useful, and he can also be 12 and 2 and not be useful. It's really a burger flip. What kind of SKUB shows up that day? He has been in the military for about like 8 months now, but it looks like he's not going to have any problems showing up to League of Legends games. His availability when he played SDC was never really the issue. Um, if you do want to pick up SKUB, probably a later tier 3 pick or mid tier 3 pick, not because he can't play to that level, but because if you don't get a support that really likes playing with SKUB, you might have a little bit of attitude issues, you might have some inconsistent performance. He's usually a pretty laid back guy though, if you get him the right goons. I would recommend if you're looking to pick up Darbu or Ian, maybe consider young SKUB, Big Scuba. We've got the Shaqtus, top lane superstar. Looks like he's not going to play top lane. He told me about his tech, but I didn't think he'd go through with it. I have seen his bot lane, and it's honestly not awful. I think he should absolutely be a jungler, but he's trying to figure some stuff out, and I imagine there's a solid chance that if you ask him to swap to top lane or jungle, he'll do it. What I like about Shaqtus is even if he isn't the strongest individual player, he'll do what the team asks of him. I don't think he is going to have his one obligatory gangplank feeding game of the season anymore, but Shaqtus, my bad, not SKUB, gets along with pretty much anybody. Uh, Good sport about kind of being like poked fun at, and he'll do anything for the team. If you pick him up tier 4, late tier 3, absolute steal, pleasure to have on the team. He's on Bye Bye Simps last year, don't hold it against him. Killjoy. Killjoy, he's he plays League of Legends sometimes. Um, the one thing about Killjoy you might have to keep in mind is he will play and show up when you ask him to. But sometimes, if your top laner is really impressive, he might get distracted while they're solo killing their lane and die. It's unfortunate. It happens to the best of them. And to Killjoy. He has a good Alistar. His ADCs are pretty solid. He had a decent last season, actually. I was pretty impressed with how he performed, but I'm curious to see what he's going to look like this season because, again, he's coming into the league unless he has like a top secret Smurf account like King Mike that I don't know about. He hasn't played actively for about 2 months, so ask him where his head's at with that and maybe take the gamble because it wasn't that bad last season. PopahJones. I used to be on a team with PopahJones, May 19th through May 22nd. Not too bad of an availability issue. PopahJones, in the past, has been drafted in some pretty wonky places that maybe he shouldn't have been drafted in. He really wants to get better at the game. He will listen to people who he respects and knows are better than him. Um, my one, he plays so much Jinx. Oh my god. He plays good ADCs, actually. He's not going to play random garbage. He plays the solid ones and Jin. But I would caution that PopahJones can definitely round out a roster as a second ADC. Just don't pick him too high. He could probably go as like a lower to mid tier 3 player. Don't draft in tier 2 if you don't if you don't want some problems, I guess. This is another player that could pretty easily go with Darbu and Ian, by the way. Shayden. Shayden has been playing lots of League of Legends PC Edition. He's somebody who will always be around, will always be grinding the game, and will always be actively practicing new playstyles, new champions, learning about the game, which is fantastic if you have lower tier players. It seems like it will help them out. He's taught me a lot about the game. I would recommend Shayden pretty highly to have on the team. He is Camille gamer, Gangplank, plays some really strong carry champions, late game pop off champions. His tanks outside of Shen that I've seen haven't been the best, but I don't think it. Well, I shouldn't say haven't been the best. I haven't seen that many of them, but I don't think it would be that big of an issue. He seems like he can pick up champions pretty quick. If you want a tier 2 top laner, this is probably one of the best ones you can get. Gonna go over to yes. Okay, so back gap. If you don't know, he changed his name to some bullshit. Completely forgot it, even though I play with him every day. This is Darbu. Darbu is somebody who, if you want to play with him, you should. If you want to draft him, you should ask him first. Uh, he plays lots of Poppy, lots of Amumu, pretty good Xerath, just enough champions that he won't get banned out. I would recommend drafting him with the players you think would go well with him. I'll try to point them out during this review. He has an incredible perception of the game if things are going his way. He is an aggressive player. He roams constantly on the map. He solo carries games from support position. He finds the death bushes, finds the invade, finds the cheeky roams that nobody expects, nobody below like master tier even thinks about. It's really impressive. Another thing about Darbu is he will grief your game if he doesn't get his way. He's kind of a goon sometimes. So if he said he would be interested in having you as a captain, I would strongly consider it. He can easily go. I'm thinking about what he It's gonna say to me if I say this, but he could definitely go top of tier 2 if you're looking for a strong support. The Draven's pretty solid, the Kai'Sa's pretty passable. I would recommend keeping him support though. This is definitely more than any player, somebody you want to draft. If not a team, then draft a bunch of gamers around. It's important he has an environment where he feels like he would do well, so he doesn't explode and be a baby about it. Capanese. Capanese is a player in League of Legends PC Edition. I had a little bit of a brain fart there. Forgive me. It's going to be a long recording, I'm starting to realize. Capanese is D4. He was 23 points last season. Yeah, on Sound 11 with a 60% win rate in SDC, which is pretty impressive. Not quite Coppellia levels. I don't know how Coppellia got it, but hey, Capanese is pretty impressive in his own respect. This is another tier 2 ADC you could probably pick up. He was 23 points last season, probably where he should be. Did pretty well. Not too much to say. He actively plays the game. The few games I've played with him, he did really well. Likes talking about the game. Solid ADC. JonesyJukes. Dealt with him a few times. He really wants to get better at the game. He's actively trying to improve. If you've had negative interactions with him, I would definitely recommend that you just give him a shot. I feel like he's really actively looking to improve. He was on high 5 Daisy last season as a tier 3 14-point player. He could absolutely be drafted as higher than that. I think he has definitely been actively improving. From the bot position, I'm not too sure about his mid lane. Would probably just keep him bot lane as a solid second ADC, similar to PopahJones. Rary, he played on one of the Death Guards teams last season, one of the Diamond teams with young Shredman, and he is solid pickup, probably a tier 3 top laner. Could put tier 2 if you know he's actively willing to grind the game. He has a pretty good Yone, and his Tahm Kench, I don't know what it is about his Tahm Kench. Nobody else plays that champion like he does. He could be in the most doomed situation, and he somehow solo kills me every time. His Tahm Kench is just different. If you're up against him, ban it if he still plays it. I never want to see his Tahm Kench in my video game again. But his Yone's pretty solid too. He is a Vayne top player. I think he's mostly going to stay top, but I imagine he could play ADC if you really wanted him to. He's a solid tier 3 top laner that can definitely solo carry some games. He usually likes beefy boys, but he's pretty good on Vayne, Yone, and the beefiest of boys in Tahm Kench. BlackNinja, play flex with him sometimes. BlackNinja's best attribute that I've seen is he is going to be a solid, reliable performer against literally anybody. Doesn't matter if we're up against GM bot lanes and flex queue. Darbu's going to leave to roam, and BlackNinja's going to be down like 10 CS. And if enemy team's lucky, they'll get a kill on him under tower. It's like a 3-man dive. But he's one of those players that could just play the entire video game 1v2 for the first like 10-15 minutes of the game, and he'll still have a solid performance. It's really impressive. I've never seen anyone be played away from the ADC position as well as BlackNinja can be. It's a solid attribute, and when he does get a laner, he's actually pretty solid. Definitely a high tier 3 player. If you have lots of carries on one side of the map, maybe you have like Striker Zone with like Nico Soccer or some shit, something like that, that would be a really solid BlackNinja roster. He almost will never lose you the game. Lakuna. Lakuna is another League of Legends PC Edition gamer. He's slowly been getting better. His trajectory kind of reminds me of Matsy. He started off at an SDC, mid to low gold. I think it was season 9. Yeah. He was low gold. Now he's slowly climbing, getting better every season. It's nice to see. He gets along with pretty much everybody from what I've seen. He was tier 4, 11 points, I think, last season. Also, what I'm basing this on is this draft sheet, which sometimes shows most recent season and sometimes shows random seasons. So if I get one of these things slightly wrong, don't hold it against me, please. Much love. Lakuna, he's going to be a solid secondary or tertiary. secondary jungle probably. He plays some pretty good champs like Hecarim and Nocturne. His Nocturne solo carried against my team last season. It was pretty good. I don't think the one thing I'd say about Lakuna is if you have the perception of him that you had like 6 SDC seasons ago, might be time to change it. He's a lot better of a player than he was before. And I don't think he's really going to have any issues being drafted. He probably still a tier 4 low tier 3 player. Payneless. Payneless is back. Had a brief stint on my Death Guards team. Solo queue, more than any other player I've ever seen, except maybe Crucifix, solo queue hates Payneless. Payneless gets like the most vile of creatures I've ever seen in my life from the Black Lagoon find their way into his solo queue games without fail. It's really impressive. Payneless likes playing to sides of the map that can carry the video game. He usually has a pretty good idea of what his win condition is and when to play to them. The one thing I would say is that sometimes if he's behind or that win condition doesn't work, he shuts down, but he is talkative, he's reliable. If he gets some of his champs like Rek'Sai Diana, he might be able to carry a couple games. I wouldn't have it in his mind. I wouldn't have it in your mind that he just is looking to play like tank setup duty and carry every game. He actually has a little bit more versatility than that. I would recommend drafting Payneless around low tier 2. Probably like last round tier 2. I think that's where he goes. Pretty consistently, and he can perform pretty well there. Dreadjoker left the league for a few seasons. He's come back, played a bit of flex with the Darbu goons. He's doing all right. He's not doing anything exceptional. Looks like he actually had a pop off guard this game. He's going to play like the Malice champions, Udyr, Karthus, even Fiddlesticks. I like that. He plays some really good champions. I think Viego's his go-to. He's going to play the champs. He's usually pretty positive when behind. Not sure how much he's looking to actively play. Not sure how much he's like putting into the game. But as like a high tier 3 jungler, you can't really go wrong with Dreadjoker. He's familiar with SDC. I imagine his availability will be pretty solid as well. Another goon. This is Gimpy, Gimpy's SDC veteran. I'm pretty sure he's been in most seasons of SDC of any player. It's really impressive how long he's been around the league. He is a solid jungler, yet every time I play with him, I just manage to int the entire game away, and I feel really bad. Gimpy. What can one person say about Gimpy that you don't understand from playing League of Legends with him? Gimpy is a language. Gimpy is an experience. And I want his Seraphine in my flex games more often. That's what I have to say, I guess. Norae is an absolute pleasure to play with. He played through a concussion on Baby Simps, and while we didn't do really well, the highlight of the season was absolutely playing some games with him. He usually has a pretty good perception of what to do to win the game, play around win conditions, and he is a win condition himself. He can solo carry games. He will again. I think sometimes he can misfire on shot calls, but there's always so much confidence in Norae that you can literally never hold it against him. He's a delight to play with. Anybody would be lucky to have Norae on their team. ChipsAhoyYoBoy is somebody lots of people like playing with. Even if he isn't the strongest individual player, you might see that bronze rank and get a little bit scared. He knows his position. He knows his place as a tier 4. He will sacrifice his entire jungle just for one of the homies. I've seen this in houses. He'll play Nunu. He'll gank a single lane like 8 times. When you think he's not going to gank the lane, he's going to gank the lane. He will not leave, and he'll give everybody else his jungle. He will do what you tell him to. From what I see, he's a really good communicator, and he'll listen to people who are higher ranked than him. It seems like he's solid to have on the team. From what I understand, he was picked tier 3, 15 points, which is probably a bit high. Should probably be a tier 4 player. But I think he'll do pretty well this season. Hopefully he starts hopefully it goes well for him this season. Aidonn, my former captain, love playing with Aidonn. Don't believe what he says. His Lee Sin's actually pretty good. Looks like Aidonn's one of those players where he can play both of these positions pretty well. He played both on death cards. He's a solid player. His Jinx is really good. His Lee Sin's really good. His Trundle, even though he doesn't play it often, is really good. I've seen it. Strengths for Aidonn is he's a goofball, great in comms, pretty good at coordinated availability, has seen the struggle of being a captain and will absolutely help the captain out from what it seems like. One thing you might want to be, one thing as a heads up, he might get a little bit like tilted in comms, not like, he won't like flame anybody, but he gets a little bit flustered sometimes. But don't we all? Nothing all against him. TJQHockey played 2 seasons before. He was 15 points tier 3 if the sheet is to be trusted last season, and before he was tier 4, 11 points. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Beautiful. I'm doing great. His Zach's really fucking good. Win rates on everything else are pretty comically low, but from what little I've seen of him, he has a good idea of where to be and what lanes to gank. I think he should probably. I think around tier 3, 15 points is where he ought to be. His solo queue ranks high, but obviously in SDC, your Zach's going to be banned, so I've yet to see what he can put up. I didn't really follow him last season, so hopefully off of Zach he looks just as good. Benjamin Hat 10. This is another Zach gamer. It's pretty funny that both of them are right next to each other. Yeah, he plays League of Legends. Plays Fiora. I'm goofing around. B-Hat likes to be vocal, from what I've seen. He likes to dictate plays, and sometimes they work really fucking well. Sometimes they don't. Seems a little bit of an inconsistent player, from what I've seen. I remember one game last season. Obviously, you can't hold like any individual games against people. But one game last season, I was against Briz top lane. I was Kale, he was Gwen, and B Hat ganked the lane, and the game was probably already lost. But if it wasn't before, it was then, and that isn't emblematic of B Hat as a player. But that's definitely an issue you can run into. He can be a bit overzealous on ganks that he calls, and it might backfire. But for a tier 4 jungler, B-Hat's probably like the benchmark. This is probably mid-range of what you expect from a tier 4 jungler. He has some pretty solid games that he could just run over people in ganks. And sometimes it misfires. Nothing wrong with that. Tip of the spear. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but I cannot overstate how impressive Tip of the Spear's win rate in SDC is. It was like 73%. No, is it actually 82% win rate over 45 games? I have that written down. I can't fact check it right now. And this is going to be a really long video, so I'm probably not going to edit it, but maybe look for yourself. It's really fucking impressive. 4.9 KDA as well. I'm not sure if he has like a Smurf account because I looked at this before recording and he doesn't really play the game anymore. Hopefully when he comes back, he'll be just as dominant before. I love watching people just absolutely tear up SDC. I've Tip of the Spear was one of those players who played when I didn't. I've heard that he has some like interpersonal conflicts with some people. Can be a bit of a goofball, more accurate. But if you are looking for a jungler, maybe high tier 2, worth the risk. Hey, you probably couldn't go too wrong. Zeta Noise. Played the last few seasons of SDC. This guy plays a lot of champions. I say that, but oh, it was okay. I looked at this before, and he played a lot of champions last season. I was a little bit confused. I swear I just looked at this. Okay. So it was tier 3, 14 points previous season. This is the wrong player. I feel silly. Yeah, right? I'm so silly. I was showing you Tip of the Spear. My bad. It's been a long... long, like, past 4 days. Forgive me, please. But Zeta Noise, now Zeta, that's a cool rebrand, cool name. Plays like 150, yeah, 110 champions. That's insane. In a single season, 4 months in, 110 champions. That's a lot of fucking champions. And it looks like he actually does pretty well in like over half of them. That kind of range, that kind of breadth of champion pool, pretty impressive. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about the player, but if you can play this many champions and you're not like a gold player, skill wise, maybe he's actually like mid to lower plat. If he could play all of his champions at that level, that'd be really impressive and definitely a boon to a team. MoreSleep, this is Lonry. Lonry's schedule is going to be really choppy this season. I'm pretty sure he said that before, and he's been available quite a bit more than he thought he would be. So maybe it's not that way. Who knows? Lonry knows more about the game than most people in SDC. He would be a fantastic coach, and if you are lower rated than him, I would definitely recommend listening to him. He isn't somebody who gets along with everybody. He can be a little bit divisive, but as if you're looking to draft somebody with incredible game knowledge and who can lead people in game, Loner is probably one of your best options. Keep in mind though, this is a big caveat. If he can only play the minimum games, it's pretty reasonable to assume he's not going to be around to like coach people out of game, to give people advice out of game like he usually does. Just heads up. I don't think it really depreciates his value too much. I would still expect him to go like second round of picks, tier 1. Sunscorched. What the hell? I skipped like 5 people. One of them's my support, I think. Not sure what's going on with that. Spattel. Spattel's really good at the champions he plays. His Renata's actually probably the best Renata I've seen. He has a really good Nautilus. Some of the hooks he like Mission Impossible's the hooks past the minions. It's fucking crazy. You should see it. Spattel gets a little bit overzealous in terms of warding, in terms of engages in lane. If you have an ADC that can dictate lane a little bit more, i.e. tell Spattel when to go in, it's going to go really fucking well. He has the potential to be a lot better of a player than his rank indicates. I would just hook him up with somebody who can like guide him a little bit. Really helped Spattel has a good season. Pierceblade is one of the best supports in the league, per my opinion. Wocky's also one of them. We'll get to him next. Pierceblade knows the most about laning phase from any support I've talked to in SDC. I haven't talked to lots of supports in SDC, though. They're kind of icky people, the supports. I've had a couple conversations, myself and my former support, Mirith, and Pierceblade, just talking about laning phase, talking about what went wrong, and he has a really good eye for that kind of stuff. He's absolutely somebody that can lead people in and out of game, give them constructive criticism, give them advice. I would absolutely draft Pierceblade probably higher end of tier 2. Wocky, pretty similar in the vein of Pierceblade. He doesn't play as much League of Legends unless he has a Smurf account, but when I was more available, I was really active in the Ashen Discord where Wocky, King Mike, Crucifix, those goons hang out, and he knows a lot about the game as well. He will state his opinion, and his opinion is usually always right about League of Legends. He's very knowledgeable and can impart that knowledge upon other people. Pretty sure he also provides coaching. That's the funny parallels. I'm not really sure what champs Wocky plays. I've seen him play Lulu, I've seen him play Seraphine, I'm pretty sure he's played Yumi a few times. But he can also play engaged champs. We're going to move over to Sunscorched. Sunscorched, interestingly enough, he signed up as support in jungle. I'm curious to see if this is actually a swap and not just him being put on fill, because he is actively playing support. Some ADCs, not a whole lot of jungles though. Surprised he chose that role. Oh, he's actually jungled in Clash. That's interesting. He is very good at enchanters, it looks like. I haven't seen Sunscorched play outside of in-houses, so I don't want to like give a really strong opinion one way or the other, but he plays some really good champions. Soraka, I think even after the nerfs, is still really strong. Seraphine is kind of sleeper in my opinion. He knows what an ADC needs because he used to be a big ADC player. I would probably tier 3 pickup for Sunscorched. But I would probably just say I'm curious to see how the support experiment goes for him. Daisyn, this is Ian, one of the other goons with myself, Darbu, Gimpy, those people, Jonathan, Radhan Source. Ian can lead from within a game better than most people. This isn't real, by the way. Ask him about his Jace, his Zed, and his Draven. He's not going to be available Thursdays. He rates in WoW, but Ian has a shit ton of competitive experience. He's been on dozens of teams, several of which were with myself. He's been playing comp since Season 5. That's a long time ago. He knows how to close games. He knows how to win games. One thing I would keep in mind with Ian is when things go wrong, he usually circumvents blame. He usually goes somewhere else. There was this one game that sticks in my head like a year and a half ago. He says we lost game because he had to pop 2 corrupting potions on Silas in lane before level 1. Then he went like 3 and 12. He'll do that sometimes, but I would say that if you get him with people that are of the same mindset, people that actively want to take STC super seriously, are trying their best to win the games, he's going to do pretty well. He's going to be better than most people of his rank. He's returned to the game after about 10 months, but I think he could easily slot in as a mid or high tier 3 player. He's going to be jungle and support. Slight chance you could put Phil Rowe on him and he'd play everything pretty decent except ADC. Wouldn't want to see him ADC. That shit's cursed. Sepherdoodle, Dilsef. He's been around a while. He's always been a okay support. From what I see, he isn't the best at roaming, but he'll listen to the ADC if they're trying to dictate lanes or call for plays or even calling for him to roam. He'll listen. He is very attentive to player schedules. He's been captain several times before. You won't run into any attitude issues with him. He is pretty solid guy. He likes more magey and enchanter type champions, from what I remember. He's playing lots of Pantheon, but I feel like in SCC, if you stick him on like a Yuumi, if you want to put him on Lux, even a Zyra, he's going to do all right. I would caution that if you are up against like a really heavy roaming bot lane, he might not look the best, but against other like tier 3, tier 4 bot lanes, he's going to do all right. You're going to be fine with him as an ADC. Poopback Kevin, this is Unknown KRC, who is also returning to the game after quite a while. Unknown KRC is playing support mid, about what you would expect from him. I feel like he might actually be playing a bit more support than mid this time, though. I imagine he's still really good at Xerath. Last time I've seen it in an in-house, it didn't do very well, but it's an in-house. It's really not representative of a player's skill. He hasn't played in quite a while, so while he used to be like a solid, very high tier 3, if not mid to low tier 2 player, I would probably pick him up at low tier 3. He's going to be a bit of a gamble, but he is tenured in STC. He knows what he's doing. His availability is almost definitely going to be pretty good. Very easy to work with as a player. Would recommend picking him up low tier 3. Final Ninja. He was picked up tier 2, 23 points last season. I looked through the stat lines before recording this video, and he has 10.9 average assists. That's fucking crazy. That's loony how many assists he gets. He's active on the map. He's a pretty good laner from what I've seen. He just seems like a really solid support. I haven't spoken to him personally that many times, so I'd probably rate somebody like Pierceblade above him, but Final Ninja's a really fucking solid support. Definitely recommend having him on your team. Low tier 2, mid tier 2, probably where he goes. Mechanimus was Death Card support last season. he was really hyped up because he had some incredible games on Thresh, some incredible games on Blitz. Even his enchanters were pretty good. He was just an all-around really strong lane with Crucifix. From what I've seen personally, he doesn't have the most active or the most aggressive laning phase. Sometimes he feels like he could be doing a bit more to me. I've watched over some of his gameplay, but for a solid, reliable support, again, there's lots of supports around like the plat 1 through like D3 range. This is another solid option if you're looking for somebody like that. Jasko was captain last season. He has been around for I think he started playing the season I left. He's been around for quite a while. His Bard, his Leona, I see them in my top lane constantly. I get ganked at level 4 by this guy every time I play against him. It's the most bewildering fucking thing. He's going to be a solid, like, tier 3 level support. More than most other supports of that ilk, I guess. He's going to be active on the map. You want a jungle that is a strong player that can be coordinated around. If you have like a tier 1 jungle that can link up with him, tell him we're going mid lane, we're going to kill this guy, I would recommend having him as a second follow-up support. Like him and Final Ninja or him and Pierceblade supports would be really spooky to have on a team together. Silverhammer, I was on his team for a series until I accidentally went like 3-18 that series. I feel really bad. He's a cool guy, very communicative, seems like he can get along with pretty much everybody. He's not just a Morgana one trick. I know you're going to look at the match history and see that he has 160 games of Morgana. He can actually play a lot more than Morgana. His hook champions are pretty solid. His Renata, from what I've seen, was really good, even if solo queue, it's wild. Not always representative of a player's skill. I think that Silverhammer is going to be a solid tier 3 support. Again, probably around the same level as Jasko, I would think. He has a pretty solid laning phase, roams a lot less, but he knows what he's doing off Morgana. I just want to, more than anything with Silverhammer, he's a cool guy. Just want to attack the notion that he's a Morgana one trick. That's not the reality of the situation. We're going to have average VTuber, known forever ago as Bear Kellion. He, again, the stat sheet might be lying to me, but it says tier 4, 10 points last season. That's not indicative of skill level at all if he actually dropped that low. He doesn't actively play the game that much anymore, unless he has like his super secret Smurf account I don't know about. But from what I see of him, he likes to play some enchanters. He used to play a lot more weird stuff. Don't think that's the case anymore. But he has a solid laning phase. Again, doesn't move a whole lot. Pretty good at getting vision. I can't really distinguish him that much from the other supports, like the previous like 2 supports, Jasko Silverhammer, but he's another solid mid-rangey support. Averell returning to STC after a season off, I think. She was tier 4, 12 points previous season, and she actually was one of those players who had a really fucking impressive win rate, even if it wasn't over the most games. 65% win rate, still really impressive. For KDA, she plays facilitators. I'm also pretty sure, yeah, Braum, solid Leona. She's not as one-dimensional as you might think. Pretty solid support. I feel like I've been repeating myself, but I am just speaking off the top of my head. What I wanted to do was pull up jweb's op.gg because the characters are a bit annoying to type in, but completely forgot to do that. Crossed my mind. Did not cross my mind before this. My bad. JWeb is again returning to the SDC, also known as Sphinx. I can pull that up right now. Pretty sure this is still his account, unless if he swapped it or anything. But JWeb is a really good teammate. He's been on my team several times, both in and out of SDC, on Death Guard's teams, on Essentia. He knows where to go, knows how to path, knows how to track enemy jungles. Always a pleasure to play with him. One thing I would say about JWeb is if you're winning, he's really communicative, but from what I remember, unless if this has changed in the past year, which is pretty likely. If he's behind, he can get a bit flustered, he can talk a bit less, and he can be prone into like going for some really weird plays. I still think he, assuming he's actively playing the game again, he could probably go like high tier 3, low tier 2. Low tier 2 if he's like actively grinding again. I'm not sure how much time he's dedicating to the league, but I'm happy to see him back into the league. Really cool guy, really a pleasure to have around STC. ASC Asylum, formerly known as Laxon, he's Masters now. Oh no, I jinxed him. He's one game away from Masters, if this is to be believed. He's a solid support. This is actually, he's Diamond 1. He can actually kind of play both roles. If he asks to play top, he's going to pick Ornn, and Lord only knows how that's going to go. Sometimes it goes really well, sometimes it doesn't. But Laxon knows a lot about League of Legends. Has played at some very high level competitive teams. He's been around Masters, been around High Diamond for quite a while. He knows what he's doing. I do think he can be outclassed by some supports that are lower ranked than him, and he can also beat up some supports that are higher ranked than him. I don't think his skill level is like a constant, consistent performance. I think it's more a case of what Laxon shows up that day. I think if you put him with a really strong bot laner, 9 times out of 10, he's going to do pretty well. He's going to be around the map. He's going to set up for objectives better than most players. But when I'm talking about Laxon, I'm always a little bit worried about the consistency, especially with an STC. Depends on how serious he takes it. How many fucking supports are in a row? This is crazy. They just listed the supports one after the other after the other. Crosswalk guard, Yellinger, doesn't get along with everybody in the league. You don't have to. That's absolutely fine. More than most people, Yellinger is he's a volatile laner. I talked about consistency with performance with Laxon. Yellinger is a little bit different. If his ADC is competent, he's usually going to always do well. If he has a lower rated ADC, I've seen him kind of not fall apart, but I've seen him get a little bit like flustered, pretty annoyed, and his play definitely dips. I think that's when he looks to go mid, looks to make plays that might not always be guaranteed or might not always be the most thought out. He's mostly going to be a support player, but he can also play a pretty solid top lane if that is his secondary. Crosswalk, yeah. So I've seen him play Norae before, so it'll be fine. One thing about Yellinger is he's really eager to engage, and he can win entire games off of his engage. Pretty impressive stuff. Depending on, you're not going to need a support that bad. While Yellinger can be a tier 2 level player, I foresee him going like mid tier 3 or higher tier 3. There's so many supports, every team's going to be fine on supports, it feels like. Tactics, another person, there are so many supports this season, you're going to be fine. Tactics, though, of all the sports I talked about, having laned with only a few of them, it feels like Tactics' laning phase is probably stronger than most of them, except like Pierce. I don't know a whole lot about Final Ninja. Laxon could go either way, it feels like. Tactics, he is one of those people that's kind of touch and go when it comes to League. He isn't always actively playing, but his skill floor is pretty high. It's going to be higher than like the pool of I feel like there are echelons of supports. I would probably put Tactics around like the Mechanimus, around the Pierceblade Final Ninja, like echelon if he actively plays. Those players aren't the same, but hopefully you know what I mean. When I like list those together, you get an idea of performance. His Swain's really fucking scary. He has a good Renata. His Senna, I remember being really strong. He will play Enchanters if you ask him to. But I think he prefers more of like weird stuff, CC heavy champions, and potential kill lanes. That's what I've seen him excel on. That's who he can take over games if he's with a competent ADC. He talks sometimes. Again, sometimes he can get tilted. Happens. It's League of Legends. Frustrating game. If you pair him with a tier 4 ADC, it could probably go pretty decently. He knows how to babysit to an extent. Coming up next, we have... There are so many supports. Sir Yakov. Sir Yakov is... I'm pretty sure I have a note of him. I have a cheeky little note sheet, so I don't have to recite all of these statistics I have from the top of my mind. He's Diamond 2. Pretty solid. He plays Zillion, who I think is an incredibly sleeper champion. Soraka, again, incredibly sleeper champion. And has been spamming Talia. Is that... Yeah, it looks like Talia mid lane. Yakov's Mundo is the scariest fucking thing in the world. That's who this is. Yeah, this guy played Mundo against me like 2 times in the regular season. It just absolutely dumpstered me. I had no idea how to play against it. I'm pretty sure this is him. He knows how to lane better than most supports. He knows what he's doing. He is one of those supports who isn't just playing support for like because they can't do anything else. This is somebody who actually has hands and plays support. He is... I don't remember him that closely from last season outside of top lane. I'm almost positive this is the guy who played Mundo like 3 times against me and just completely dumpstered me. But I would definitely recommend getting this guy, high tier 2. Very good. Solid gamer. Mr. Gilly, tier 4 legend last season. Mr. Gilly made it out of the BR last season. Hopefully he's back in the league this season. I'm not really sure what's going on with some like the lower rated players as far as the BR goes, but I'm just assuming he's going to make it in. Mr. Gilly is not as good as his rank indicates. He's far better. This is like a gold level player. Solo queue can be a wasteland sometimes, and we're not going to hold it against him. He has had nothing but glowing reviews from the players I've talked to. They all say he is pretty reliable at like doing what he's told, has a good idea of his own how not to get stomped in laning phase, looks for good opportunities on stuff like Tom Kench, stuff like Thresh. We have Maria Soul Lady returning to SDC after quite a while. This is a old veteran player that left SDC. She plays Enchanters, played some ADC back in the day. Looks like she is support in mid. I am curious to see how she plays. I know she used to do really well. If I remember correctly, she was Diamond on Korea and played with Ping in NA. But I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. I don't know her setup. I'd be curious to see how she does. She used to be one of SDC's better supports, but back in like Season 1, Season 2 of SDC, it was a different league. So, curious to see with the support roles, how many pretty reliable, pretty solid supports there are, how she does. I would talk to her, see what her setup is, see what her situation is. Maybe a tier 4, maybe a tier 3. Could go either way. Maybe higher, who knows? Speaking of higher rated players, Yatsu is one of the best players in SDC. This guy is insane. He fluctuates rank a lot, but he's up there with Radon's horse, Jonathan, and he solo carries games and masters GM pretty reliably. He's one of those players that's going to look for small opportunities to just take trades, take spacing like battles, take exchanges, and if you can't grapple with it, you're just going to get ran over. The best way to play against Yatsu, just try to match tit for tat, and sometimes he makes some goofy plays and just dies like a goon. Sometimes he just runs you over because he knows what he's doing to that extent. Yatsu's been in SDC for quite a while. He should be around 1 or round 2 of the tier 1 picks, not tier 2 picks. That'd be crazy. Could you imagine that? He plays top, he plays support, plays ADC. He's queuing up for top mid. Maybe a fill goes on him, maybe he's too expensive. We'll see. Top, he plays a strong kill. I've seen him play Fiora. I've seen him play Vayne up there. He plays champions that can take over games alone. Champions that like to scale. Champions that like to challenge you to duel them. He's really scary player to go up against. Would definitely recommend pick Yatsu up if you need a... It's just so weird that he's mid. If he was ADC, I could so easily recommend him like 4th or 5th pick of the entire draft, but curious to see what he does mid lane. That's weird. Elfshock. Last season he was tier 3, 17 points. He has a really wonky statistic that I saw. He has a 24% first blood percentage. As an ADC player, that is. Wait, was he support? I guess he was support. Top support. My mistake. That is such a ridiculously high first blood percentage. I don't know how that happens. I don't know if he coordinates for it. I don't know if he just has some forbidden dark magic technology to secure first bloods, maybe some blood sacrifice kind of thing. Who knows? But that's really impressive. He also has around a 60% win rate in STC, 59%. As a tier 3, that's really all you can ask for. Top support. Support's a pretty contested role. Looks like he's fine. He's whatever top lane. I'm curious to see how he does in top lane, but some pretty steep support competition. I feel like tier 3 around that point value is where he ought to be picked. X-Sprint. This was... I forgot his name. He changed his name. But he also plays on some really high-level competitive teams. He's willing to obviously actively grinding and looking to improve at the game. He's willing to help out lower tier players, offered me coaching sessions that I have not gotten around to yet, unfortunately. This guy knows his stuff. He is very opinionated. He will have conversations with the game about people for hours. I've seen it. Uh, I would caution that while this player is very good, I would recommend picking him up if he's the kind of player you like gel with. If you're looking to like goof around, if you're looking to just have a season of STC without trying to win it, it doesn't really seem like that's his priorities. He just wants to get better at the game and he wants to clown on people, it looks like. Nothing wrong with that. Wish I wish him the best of luck in his endeavors. Dragon Rider, he's been around SCC for a while, top support, plays lots of Pyke, plays lots of beefy brawlers in the top lane. Yeah, you can see Mordekaiser, Darius, Garen, Urgot, those kind of beefy, bulky bruisers where if they get ahead, they demand like 3 or 4 people to deal with them. He just likes being the meatball juggernaut from the top lane. It's a pretty good playstyle for him. He had a phase where he played like full AD split push Scion and just went like 12 deaths and still split pushed. I'm glad he grew past that because that's not a good look for him. I think where he excels in is going up against other tier 4, tier 3 players and just skill checking them. He can run over other players around his skill level. He can just take over entire games because even if you're like a master tier level ADC, if there's like a 10 and 1 Mordekaiser or a Darius with Ghost, Flash, Nimbus Cloak, it's really hard to get away from them. He'll just Gale Force on you if he's going the correct build, and you're not going to have a good time in League of Legends after that. I can't believe he takes grasp on ward sometimes. It's weird. Yeah, he should definitely go tier 4, but I feel like he can knife fight lots of the tier 4 top laners, especially if they like to go like either ego carry shots or tanks. If they're not other beefball carry top laners in tier 4, I think he's going to do pretty well against them. We have Christian. I have a really high opinion of Christian. He used to be known as an in-house scourge, somebody who you would not want to draft very high because he is going to troll the entire in-house. He is a limit tester. There is a narrative around the European player Caps that he is just going to limit test and solo queue. Sometimes he'll ruin entire games, but that's how he got so good. I feel like that's the same with Christian. I've seen him stop players like Master GM. I've seen him lose to gold players. I've seen him go like 2 and 12 in Aurelia in my in-houses. You really know, you really don't know what to expect, but he'll always play like that, and we'll always learn something from dying. I think it's a pretty solid playstyle for him. He's not a solid solo laner. He's a volatile solo laner. If you want some spice, some carry potential from what's probably going to be a tier 2 player, go for Christian. He can really round out a team. If you have lots of people who aren't looking to be the win condition, he'll do that. He'll also be the lose condition. We have, this is the most cringe name, Cry. We love him, but he is also a weeb. We're going to hold that against him only slightly. Cry used to be one of the best top laners in STC. Season 4, Season 5. It was myself, him, and Briz, and a guy named Diamond way back. He does not play the game that often anymore, but I imagine his skill floor is still relatively high. He might have some issues with availability. He might not be the quickest to respond to DMs, but if you can coordinate stuff with him, if other captains might not know who he is, this is a really solid pickup. This guy can solo carry games. He knows how to carry games. Even when he wasn't actively playing League of Legends, he coached people in call. He knows his stuff. I would recommend this player. Uh, when you could get him high tier 3, low tier 2, maybe just tier 2, who knows? Really depends on what you're looking for. He can be a reliable solo lane carry. Top jung, I'm surprised he didn't go mid. Again, reliable solo lane carry. Kivo. Kivo is first. These names and not linking the correct one. I'm trying to make a video here. How dare they? Kivo Kevo. He is a good jungler, good mid, good top, pretty reliable, pretty solid, all of those. I feel like he's probably top 8, top 10 in the league. Top jungle, but he's going top mid. Plays some beef balls like Set, plays some carry champions. I feel like as a tier 2 pickup in either of these roles, he's going to be fine. Uh, I've heard some things about him getting frustrated in game. I I've heard that a few times, but I'm not sure how borne out that is, how often that would happen. I wouldn't be too scared. I feel like Kevo is around the bar of a tier 2 player in SDC. It's pretty reasonable, pretty solid player. Can't go too wrong with him. Lil Shuzi, this is Wowzer. Wowzer is one of the best top laners in SDC. He's pretty annoying to play against because he knows what he's doing. He can out-trade most people. Whenever I try to go with trades with him, I always have to second guess myself if he engages them because I always feel like he knows something I don't. He's a confident player. He is a pub stompy player. He will pick something like Camille, he'll pick Akali, he'll pick even his Poppy, and he'll just take over games because he's better than you sometimes. It is what it is. This is another, if not tier 1, then probably a higher tier 2 player. Earlier seasons SDC that he was in, he didn't do the best, but he's obviously a really sick player. Used to be master tier, I think. I'm going to double check that. Yeah, he was GM for 2 seasons in a row. This guy's very good at the video game. Poopy Hands, 69. This guy is better than his rank indicates. He plays some very cringe champions, but we're not going to hold it against him. He's easily... He had another account that its name eludes me. That's okay. 65% win rate, gold 1. I've seen him play a few times recently. He's pretty reliably plat 1, plat 2 level. Top jungle, he's pretty good. He could beat most of the people around his skill level. I don't think he's going to beat any GM players. Maybe he could, who knows? But I think him against a tier 4 top laner, it's kind of going to be a slaughter. He's pretty clearly better. He pretty clearly knows how to push his advantages, especially if he gets any of these champions. Can you imagine a tier 4 Ornn against his Tryndamere? The game's just doomed. It's in his hands. This player could probably go lower tier 2. I imagine 5th or 6th round. It's pretty reasonable for him. If you need a top laner, somebody who can pivot to jungle, it's a pretty solid choice. I've also seen him play ADC. Don't think he's going to do that in SDC, though. Devi, 2 centimeters. I've seen him around. I feel bad because... Oh, yeah, that's who this is. I've seen him grief some in-houses. Don't we all? I'm not going to hold it against him, but I've yet to see this player do too well in in-houses or the SGC games I've seen them in. I imagine, though, just the champion pool they played, they can pretty easily take out players lower level than him. If you get a Wukong, again, against a tier 4 top laner, even if they're playing something button mashy like a Dragon Rider Ward, I think he's going to come out on top pretty reliably. Where I've seen him falter is sometimes it just looks like he doesn't really want to be in the games and in houses, so he just doesn't do very well and kind of shuts down comms wise. But again, that's in houses, that's different from SDC. Curious to see how he does again. Fresto Man. Top support. I think he was NCOG tier 3, 18 points. I looked at him earlier. That's probably where he goes as a top in support. Looks like he's going to be playing mostly tanks. We see Darius. No, we don't see Darius. We see Dr. Mundo and Garen on his match history. Hard to go too wrong with those. Might be a bit spooky against higher level players and doesn't look like he actively plays. This is probably a low tier 3. Like, pick. Not a whole lot to say that I know of him. Hullbreaker main. This is Brother Dust. Some of these I struggle to think of what to say. He's a solo laner. He's tier 4. He'll do his best. I've seen his set against like other tier 4 players. He can scrap. He can hang against them. I wouldn't be that worried, but I feel like even though he has like some tank champions, he might run into some trouble with higher rated players. Who knows though? Maybe he can prove me wrong. Had I've been in a few calls with him and I've had literally no issues. He's a really pleasant dude. Hopefully he does well in STC. Maybe he's in the gulag. I'm honestly not sure. I haven't been able to keep track, unfortunately. Top support, Sephiroth. As it says on Thin, this is a top player, usually. Might play some Pantheon support, might play some Seraphine. Maybe there's some versatility if you have lots of top laners. You pick him low tier 3, you put him support. I imagine he'll do pretty fine. One thing that's unique about this is around this range, there's not a whole lot of Fiora or Aurelia players. Those champions are really uniquely good against some of the juggernauts. Like if you have a Fiora player into a Mordekaiser, that can go really fucking well for you, and you can take over the entire game. Something to watch out for. Again, probably lower, very low end tier 3, tier 4, where they ought to be drafted. I think this is their first season. I could be mistaken though. We have Grugs. Grugs was on the Death Guards team last season as I coyly take a sip from my sponsored Pepsi. I'm not sponsored. I wish. Grugs is a very solid mage player. His Victor, his Syndra, even his Mage Corki, all are really good. He knows what he's doing on those champions, and he can take over team fights. His laning phase is solid, but I feel like team fighting and skirmishing is where he excels. There's a situation where if he is going to be an STC, I ought to tell you, apparently there's some attitude issues. There's some, like, alleged toxicity on the Death Guards team. I wasn't there, so I don't want to, like, ruin this guy's reputation within the community, but that's something to watch out for. He's still tier 2 level player, but I would talk to him, see where he's at, see what players he might want to be with, if that is going to be a concern for you. Lexus. I think incredibly high of Lexus. I think Lexus is one of the smartest people about the game in the entire league. He brought his friends in and pretty much single-handedly increased the skill cap of STC. This guy knows what he's talking about. If he tells you something about the game, obviously don't blindly listen to anybody, but if you're going to blindly listen to anybody about the game, it's probably him. He knows what he's doing. He's GM level player, easily. Trundle, Grades, Viego, any champion really. He has a solid pool. He is carried by his strong fundamental skills. He knows how to path better than most people. That's why he can get away with shit like AP Viego, because he's usually up jungle camps on the enemy. He sees opportunities. He recognizes wave states, which most junglers in SCC don't do. He recognizes if a wave is going to push towards an enemy player, he's going to path according to it, and he's going to gank them. He knows what he's doing. Really fucking strong player. I would be surprised if he didn't go first round in the draft. Probably like, honestly, I have no idea. Probably first round draft though. This guy's incredible. A team with him is going to do well. Prof Pocket. Prof Pocket swapped in for Grugs late season of Death Guards. That was the Mahar, Luke, Prof Pocket squad with Mechanimus and Crucifix. His Riven is actually one of the most nutty things I've ever fucking seen. He's so good at that champion, but he never plays it. He plays some quirky stuff. I've seen him play AP or Con mid recently. He likes Katarina. He plays Yumi mid notoriously. He, he used to be the kind of player where you might not want him on your team and you'd take him as like a burger flip tier 3. He's very clearly better than he deserves to be picked tier 2. If you don't get along with him in comms, it's whatever, but he's very clearly like a tier 2 level player. He can carry games against high plat, low diamond players, edge them out, even off Riven. He can play Enchanter's Vid. I know he has a solid Zillion. Obviously, Yumi. I wouldn't sleep on him. I feel like he deserves a bit more respect than he gets in the league. We have Plunger. Plunger was on the Sound 11 last season, Sriracha's team. He tier 2, 25 points. Had a 77% win rate over 13 games, one season SDC, still really impressive. Mostly played top, surprisingly. I thought he was an ADC player, but he is mid and top. He's good. Played lots of Darius. Plays yuck, another auction player. I feel a little bit bad singling them out, but we don't negotiate with auction players. We have to go next. Flyback, old school STC player. He was around season 3, 4, 5. This is tragic. This is another player. Maybe just Flyback exists. I remember looking this up, but I don't. Yeah, okay. This is almost definitely him because he played lots of Yone, Echo, and Yasuo. There's one season where he absolutely popped off in playoffs and like solo carried every game. It was incredible. He then he had like more of a quiet season after. Flyback should probably be picked tier 3. He has a really solid Yone, Echo, Yasuo. Beyond that, unless if he's improved as a player, I'm not sure what he has beyond that. I remember him playing some Sylas. Obviously, we see Sylas low down in match history. Not sure how actively he plays the game anymore. We'll be curious to see how he does. Welcome back, Flyback. My throat is getting so dry. I didn't think it would be that difficult to record this, honestly. This is physically taxing. We're about halfway through. I'm going to start to breeze by people. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Dare, Tommy Two-Time, former teammate of mine. This guy is good at the video game. Not much else to be said. He is a reliable mid laner, plays assassins, plays control majors about as well as each other. Can play ADCs mid. He's solid pickup. Definitely better than tier 4. Don't know why he fell so late last season. Pick him tier 3. High tier 3. That's where he's at. He could definitely beat tier 2 players or be a tier 2 player, but he was tier 4 last season, so who knows? Maybe other people know more about him than I do, but he's really good. I promise. Sorry about that. I'm slowly dying as I wither away. But luckily for you, I am content brain, and we will get this done before I decide to die. I promise. Shredman, one of the best mid laners in SDC. This guy knows his stuff. He coached me. I learned quite a bit from him last season. He is an incredible teammate. He is an in-game leader, knows what he's talking about. He can turn teams around. Feels bad maybe it Sims didn't work out last season, but this guy knows his stuff. He plays a wide variety of champions. He can solo carry on Zed Yone. Even if he gets Cassiopeia, he knows probably one of the best drafters in SDC. I think very highly of Shredman. Definitely a high-end tier 2 player, if not higher. Blazion. It's been in SDC for a couple seasons. Sussy Gons, tier 2, 22 points. He is a support player previously, but he's swapping to mid-top. Curious to see how he does in these roles. I looked a little bit beforehand, and he plays some mid and top lane, but it doesn't seem like he plays a whole lot. If that is a Vel'Koz he can swap mid, I think that champion's ridiculous. Very strong. You see a Mordekaiser game, a Trundle game. Not too crazy about those champs, but as a mage mid player, tier 2, hey, why not? If you want to put flex on him, I feel like that might be an option for you. Talk to him. Who knows? Wish him best of luck. He did pretty solid last season. Beachy Bobici, another SDC veteran. She's climbed way up to Platinum 2. She used to be one of the lower rated players, but as tier 3 support, Beachy will get it done. She plays lots of enchanters. Does pretty well with higher rated bot lanes, does pretty well with lower rated bot lanes. She's reliable, she'll do fine. It'll be okay. Peachy's a solid pick. For a good time, this is Hyun. This guy plays literally everything. I've seen him play Ziggs jungle. Probably a tier 3 pick. He is actively looking to get better at the game, but it seems like it might be a little bit on his own terms. I think Hyun's strength is his versatility. He knows how to play lots of champions. He's not like stuck in a mindset where he can only play a few champions per role. Again, might be worthwhile putting Phil on this player. Mid bot seems pretty reasonable for him though. I've seen him more top jungle, and I feel like that's where he excels. But he likes trying stuff out. Maybe talk to him about Phil. That might be a good option. Brown, I love Browno. He's returning to the mid lane and bot lane like he did on J Herbo's Tea Time team. Not to be confused with Essentia Tea Time. Very different. His Xerath is unironically cracked. Now more so than he used to. Sometimes he floats, but he usually knows how to win, like what his job is in games, and he'll play to his job. Sometimes he just gets like ran over by higher rated players. It happens. He knows he obviously wants to improve. He's actively trying to improve. He'll take input. He won't like have an ego about anything. He won't like flame people. Obviously, Brownale would never do that. He's a pretty cool guy. Pretty solid tier 4 player if you want to put him mid bot. Maybe bot, put him on mages. Will do really well for his rating. Empress Nibria. This is she had a I forget her Discord name. She's the Zetta player. I have a pretty positive opinion of her. I know she doesn't talk too much, but I know she has a team with Senor Paco the Taco, and he speaks really highly of her. She sipping on more of my branded Pepsi. I'm surprised she plays Malzahar. Love that champion. Corky, Zed, Cassidon. She plays a different variety of champions. I feel as though in mid lane in SDC, it's always a little bit spooky to get a lower rated mid laner. But I think more than any like tier 3 mid laner, she's pretty well equipped to deal with people higher rated than her. I don't know a whole lot about her, but hopefully she does all right. that's where I stand. Princeton. Princeton is good at the game. I played with him 3 games. I was filling for Heatsure, and Princeton knows his stuff. His Yone and Yasuo are really scary. He's very good at those champions. He has a good Ahri, he has a good Victor, he has a really well-rounded mid lane champion pool. You see, he's trying out stuff like Kale. That's top lane. My bad. He's a mid-top. You know what? I'm a genius. Mid-top laner. I haven't played too much with him. He doesn't seem like the most vocal guy, but he'll call for like jungle attention if he needs it. He'll call for ganks. He knows what he needs to do to win a mid lane. I think he just slots in as one of the best mid laners in the league. Like, I imagine he's like top 5. Maybe with some Lexus goons, he's like lower down, but this guy's pretty good. He can hang against higher rated players as well. TJ Pickle. He's divisive, but he really wants to improve at the game. He's a pretty good top laner. He's been actively putting time. He's been hitting me up for coaching, hitting other people up for advice, coaching. He's not the same. He's not the same Pickle he was a couple seasons ago. Even if you don't like him, I feel like you have to grant him that he's been getting a lot better. He has a solid champion pool. He knows how to improve at the game, and he's steadily doing so. His Gwen solo carries games. I know he has a solid. His Ord's pretty good too, from what I've seen. I've been peeping. Nukes. Nukes is one of the best players in STC. Like, he fluctuates a lot in rank, but he's cracked at the game. Whenever a couple of times he filled in for us for scrims on the old Death Guards teams, and my support always said like Nukes was an incredible player. He's never seen anyone like skirt the line between aggression and just feeding as well as Nukes does. And yeah, we've seen it last season. He solo carried summoning games with Nazi, won the season. Matsy, draft Nukes. Nukes is really good. I think very highly of him. Dan. This is another one of the gamers whose op.gg did not link. I don't know a whole lot of Dan. I feel bad for him. Dan the man, my bad. We're going to skip you. I tried to prep for you, but I didn't have a whole lot. I'm going to go to Boyer Adam. His schedule is a little bit weird. Definitely, I would reach out to him. This op.gg is a nightmare. Do not look, please, whatever you do. This op.gg, oh my god. Okay, so he is really fucking good at the game. He trolls a lot, plays goofy shit, plays on his own terms. If he has some of his goobers on the team, I'm not sure if he wouldn't do that. He has fun with the game while beating people. Sometimes, hopefully. Sometimes he plays AP Nasus and has a slugfest with Mahar. Who knows? Uh, he's easily a tier 2 level player. If he tried to be a tier 2 level player, he could be. If he didn't play the weird shit that just lost him. He plays Aurelion so Teemo constantly. Uh, it's hard to know where to draft him because it's hard to know what you're going to get out of him. Most likely he's going to play some weird stuff and like might feed a little bit, probably going to solo carry some games. His Lee Sin's the best Lee Sin below like high diamond. That off scene, he's really strong mechanically. His Nidalee as well, the only like non-master tier Nidalee I ever want to see. I just he's a bit of a goober, honestly. We have Cardinals 29. I'm pretty sure that's OP.gg, right? Okay, yeah. This weird linking thing. Cardinals, he didn't have the best season last season. I still think pretty highly of him as a player. He's friends with the Lexus Goons, so there's some trickle down knowledge there. Plays lots of aggressive carry tops. Uh, tier 3, top laner. He's going to be better than most of the other ones. Striker Zone 21. This guy's the best team fighter in top lane that I've ever seen in my life. This was his name like 5 days ago. Surely it's... What is happening? Okay, I'm going to look up his name. I've played Flex with him so many times. I don't know. Oh, is he just playing... Oh, he's rebranded. Just Striker Zone. My bad. He's been goofing around with the new Swain. He knows his champions better than most people, and he plays some weird champions, so it's hard to deal with. He should be second rounded as a top laner. I don't think as a top mid, he's actually really good. He can play his champions mid lane. He'll play Pantheon mid lane. He'll play Gangplank mid lane. He'll play Scion. He has a decent Veigar. One thing to watch out for is the Darbu goons give him lots of grief for this. I feel like some of it's justified. He doesn't have a bad laning phase, but he does not move from his lane. His idea of roaming to a play is picking Swain, maxing W, and just getting himself an assist on your lane from like Bahrain or something, from miles away. But he'll show up to team fights well farmed and just absolutely take over the game. If he's up against somebody who can't check him, and if your team doesn't monster feed, he's going to win you the game like 10 times out of like his 13 games. This is a really good player. I would definitely recommend Striker Zone. I know a lot about him. If you want like more in-depth stuff that I can't cover in 1 to 2 minutes, DM me. I'd be happy to talk. Or DM him. He's also usually around and available. Deidrew. Deidrew returned to STC from last season. Solid, yeah, another solid support, diamond level. Around that echelon that we talked about previously with Pierceblade, Final Ninja. I feel like, Macadamous, I feel like he slots in around there. Wish I could say a bit more, but I didn't watch him play a single game last season. I feel a bit bad, but always wish all the best for Deidrew. Gesture Privilege, Feel the Burn. This guy is really fucking good at mid lane. He has another account. I'm not going to reveal his secrets, but he's pretty good at mid lane. He has a really solid Malzahar. Obviously, his Mal's fundamentals. His long range mages, really good. Pretty versatile, honestly, in terms of his gameplay. Don't be spooked by the rank he shows. He's obviously way better than gold player. D4, Probably Diamond 4 level is where he slots him, I think. Solid tier 2 pick. Lower tier 2, maybe. Killer. This is a long video. My bad. If you're still watching, we're going to cover Killer. Thank you for sticking with me. Killer is outspoken. He is confident. He is a solid D4 level support. He's more of those roaming supports. I don't think he controls vision as well as like some of the other supports, like Pierceblade. But he is a strong laner and a strong roamer, which you don't always see coupled together. He can do either pretty consistently. Support bot, you're gonna want him support. Again, there's so many supports, so it's hard to like dial in where you would want them. Every team can have a really solid support this season. Probably lower tier 2. He gets along with lots of the STC goons. Like old school STC goons. Yeah. Rapid fire. This guy's new. He looks really good. Like, Diamond 1 playing Jinx, Zeri, Xayah. Plays the meta stuff. Seems like he knows his stuff. He doesn't die that much as an ADC. Average like 4 to 5 deaths. In the Elo, it's not too bad, honestly. You see MVP, 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 MVP. This guy carries lots of games, and it looks like the games he loses, he isn't always on him. Like, look at this. There's a little bit of an incident in some of the other positions. Looks like a solid ADC you'd be happy to have. I don't know him personally, but seems like low tier 1 level. James Bond Meow. Warwick player in jungle, Diamond 4 level. That's really interesting. You don't see a lot of Warwick players, don't see a lot of Mordekaiser jungle. I know Malice fooled around with that and actually thinks it could be viable. I think so too. He plays some pretty good champions as well, like Hecarim, Fiddlesticks, Shyvana. Definitely in the Malice champions. Seems like he has pretty high farm numbers for a jungler. Seen maybe not like a little 10 play style, but maybe a Malice enjoyer, such as myself. Seems like a solid tier 2 jungler. I don't know a whole lot about him, but that's my initial impression. I think I had a... Oh, I'm all out of notes, actually. I didn't take a single note of any of the players below this. I must have been sleepy on the train. So, oh my god, we're getting towards the end. We're saved. You might see me running down these players just to be done. Don't hold it against me. It's been a long video, a long recording after like a 4-day trip. It's been a ride for me. Jake Pauler. Okay, I thought Jake Pauler was also a work player. I could have sworn he was just a support, like an enchanter player. Really? Okay. Support bot. I'm sure that's what he plays. I don't know why I'm shocked. He was previously a tier 3 player when he played in SDC before, to my knowledge. I don't have it written down, but I'm pretty confident. Plays lots of Xayah, who's really strong with that lethality build. It wasn't like the lethality build a year ago that was pissed useless and everybody spammed it. It's actually good now, I promise. That champion got buffed. Seems like it'd be a low tier 3 ADC. There's lots of ADCs this season, but he's there. I don't know too much about him. Zooey, one of the other Ashen goons. I like Zooey in comp. Seems like he knows his stuff. Solid player. Plays those aggressive mid laners. Ahri, Katarina, Yasuo, Akali. Plays some mages as well. Do the Ashen people just not play League of Legends? And I see them there every day. Are they really not playing League of Legends? What are they doing? That's crazy. Zooey is competitively experienced. He's been Plat 1 before. If he actively plays, he should probably be picked mid-tier 3. Attitude issues? Probably not. I hope not. Who knows? Crucifix. I think very highly of Crucifix. I think Crucifix... Oh my god, this is monumental. He got Platinum 4. He was stuck gold. I'm pretty sure I looked at this yesterday, and he was gold. He's been gold for the longest time. I thought a curse has been laid upon his bloodline. Pick him, tier 1, first round draft, Platinum 4 player, cracked. on a more serious note, I think he was the standout player on the Death Guards roster he was on. Seemed like towards the end they needed him to carry their games, relied quite a bit on him, and he usually delivered. His landing phase is strong, even if he's tagged with the support that isn't as good at landing phase, he won't feed. He'll just be fine. Then he'll try to take over team fights. He's hard on himself, but that makes him a way better player. He's really good. He's D4 level, in my estimation, if not higher. I would personally draft him at like lower tier 2. If you want to draft him tier 3, he's the best tier 3 ADC, easily. It's not close. Tanzo. I played comp against Tanzo several times, competitive games. This guy's really fucking good. If you're looking for carry top laners around like this range, this guy is easily tier 1, like second, third round pick. I think there's 3 rounds of tier 1 now. This guy's really good. He's going to stop lots of people in STC. His hands are better than most. Obviously, you see the kind of champions he plays. He can actually play these champions. I promise. He's different. This guy's really good. I have a very high opinion of Tanzo. He knows how to freeze. Big plus. Knows how to track jungle, from what I've seen. Maybe not. Maybe he was just super lucky, but I doubt it. This guy is very good at the game. If I put out a top lane tier list, he's going to be towards the top of it. Excited to see him play STC. Very happy he's here. Tanzo is cool guy. Drew, Bubble Bunny. I saw them post something. Another Riven player. Interesting. Looks like they will be a top mid player. Seems like they could actively play both. Play really good champions. Again, pretty high in ball cost. Seems like they mostly play top lane, though. If you take a dig into their previous season, you'll see, yeah, lots of Riven, lots of Vladimir as their primary two. Same ball cost, same-ish champion pool. Seems like they'd be willing to pick up more champions, though, if you ask them. As a top laner around this skill level, I feel like they should probably go tier 2. Waka Panda is coming back after a brief hiatus from STC. This is crazy. He's gotten really good. 70% win rate platinum 1. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. He used to be somebody who's been consistently picked tier 2 in STC. As a jungle, that's where he ought to go. What have I done? I'm a fool. Waka Panda tier 2 jungler. He knows what he's doing. Plays really good champions. I think Evelyn's sleeper should be played more. Veiga's pretty solid. He's a good jungler. Pick him tier 2. He'll do really well. Carry some games. Dubs, another one of the Ashen Goons. He's also very good at the video game. This guy's done things on Caitlyn before, like the whole Caitlyn mini rework thing that gutted some for animation cancel mechanics that I've never seen anyone do. It was really fucking impressive, and I'm sad they took it away because I couldn't watch Dubs use it anymore. Dubs, cool guy. Doesn't seem like he's going to have attitude issues. Should be drafted by whoever, honestly, can get a really solid D1 ADC. Put him with a solid support. If you get him and like Pierceblade, Final Ninja, you're going to be happy. This guy's going to run over some bot lanes, especially since the bot and support seem to be weighted towards like the high plat level. He's very clearly better than, like, he's very clearly has something above them. I don't want to say he's better than them, but he's probably better than them. Wistfully. Again, similar situation, slightly different style of champion pool. Dubs didn't have the Vayne and Zeri, I believe. Yeah. Oh, Zeri down there. Okay, he did play some Zeri. I'm mistaken, but Wistfully actively plays the games where it didn't like Dubs did. Master tier, so obviously he's going to be picked tier 1, most likely. I've seen him play, should be picked there, knows what he's talking about. Has lots more knowledge than most ADC players I've seen. Some games I've seen him just get like perfect KDA, 10 CS a minute, freezing waves, abusing people. Doesn't seem like he especially cares about what his support's doing. Knows his stuff. I think pretty highly of him. That's toast. Striker. This is not the Striker of old. Striker used to be like a master level, if not higher level jungler. Used to be really fucking good. I believe he can pretty easily get that rank again, but that's if he actively plays the game, which doesn't seem like he's really doing. I feel like his skill floor, easily tier 3. I don't think he's going to come back and just be an absolute, like, an absolute shitter. He's not like tier 4 level or anything. I feel like he'll still be able to hang, still be able to take some of that knowledge that he had before and not get completely gapped by higher level jungles. It's pretty likely he'll miss some steps along the way, though. He'll make some mistakes, might miss some smites, might mess up some ganks. Happens. It's okay. I still think pretty highly of Striker, and if you reach out to him and you believe he'll actively grind the game, and you can get him around tier 3, absolute steal. If he can get better really quick, you're going to be in a really good spot. We have Little Tem. Little Tem's been taking over in houses. She farms a lot, then she kills people. Usually in that order. Notice her CS numbers are really high for a jungler. 7, 6.5, 6.5, 7 on Kayn. Yeah, that's her game plan. Lots of people have knocked her for not trying to impact lanes earlier on. She seems more of like a Malice type player than somebody who actively like looks for gank opportunities, but something's got to be working for her, and I don't want people to think she is only that one-dimensional type of player, because I'm sure she's good enough to be able to expand. High diamond level player, ought to be high tier 2, if not lower tier 1. She'll take over lots of games because people, if her laners aren't like solo losing games for her. I think she'll have a really solid SCC season. I hope she'll do well. My dog opened the door. You can see the wilderness now. Jonathan, Radon's horse. This guy's the best player. Like, one of the best players I've seen. As he went 1-7 against Sanchovies on his Kale game. I was watching him. His Lee Sin's probably the best in the region for people who aren't pro. His Scion's probably the best in the region. Sorry, Fiji. Sorry, Striker Zone. My bad. Gragas, again, is great. He's solo carried with and against so many incredible players, like NA's finest, which might not think that's that impressive. Might not be, but it's definitely something. This is like top 300, 500 player in our region easily. Um, the one thing about Jonathan that I would say is he's a wee bit of a terrorist. He likes goofing around. If you can put Phil roll on him and still have points at the end of the season, he's probably the best player in like half the positions. His his solo queue meme is that if he loses or get like one of his positions gets gapped, he'll just play that position next game. If it's a mid laner, is like Bob Quinn or something, so you know he'll solo lose the game. He'll play some mid lane and probably carry. Uh, he's gonna hate me for saying this, but he should be like first 5-6 picks. He's really, really good. If you can draft him and get the Darbu goons on your team, you'll have an absolute blast and you'll win pretty much every game in regular season. I can't overstate how highly I think of Jonathan. Even if this guy takes all my cannon waves, actually, I take everything back, trash. Sweetie Pie, another goon we flex with. Really good Veigar. You see the scheduling potential conflict. Shouldn't be that big of an issue. You know what you're getting with Sweetie Pie. She's got to be a solid mage player. Viger, Victor, Vel'Koz. Won't get ran over too much. Might, like, by some of the higher level players, she might not be able to roam. Shouldn't be that big of an issue. Late game win condition, pretty much always. Heater, potentially will miss first weekend and is very rusty. Heater's been away. If you have an opportunity, I think, like, in a week he gets back. If you have an opportunity, send him your best wishes. Heater's been sent to the shadow dimension recently. Again, Heater is one of those players I have a very high opinion with. Gets along with pretty much everybody. Can joke around. Really open guy. And very good at League of Legends. He taught me quite a bit about what I know in top lane. Obviously knows how to freeze, knows how to play the jungle dynamics, knows matchups better than most people. Probably a master level player if he's in his peak. I will say he's going to be a bit rusty, but I imagine when he arrives, if you pick him at tier 2, his skill floor is just as high as like some of the tier 2 players. I don't think he'll go too wrong. Sure, he might make some blunders, but towards the end of the season, and if you make playoffs, he's going to be one of the best players in the league, I would imagine. Yeah, send him your best wishes. Welcome back, Heater. Firelight. Again, probably one of the best players in the league. This guy, don't worry too much about the rank. He's been playing some goofy stuff. Has had some pretty unlucky games. This guy's one of the better players in the server. He knows how each individual player ought to be playing. He knows every role very well. He's a coach. Pretty good one, it seems like. I don't usually like hand out praise like that because I'm pretty pretty discerning, kind of a big deal, but Firelight's earned it. He can one of the only players in league who can like shot call an entire team to victory. It's really impressive. Definitely a tier 1 level player. Support mid, that's where he plays. He autofills himself in houses. You should get him to play Singed. Put Phil on him, get the Singed. He'll 1v9, just maybe not for the right team. I really like Firelight, Splasher, all of these players I'm about to talk about, by the way. Think very highly of them. Splasher, another one of the Lexus goons. He's been playing less and less recently, and thus he has a super secret account, which is pretty likely. When he actively played, like 4 or 5 months ago, he was a master level mid laner, I think, but willingly off-rolled himself as well. I'd talk to him. I would recommend. Was he support? Maybe he was support. I'm sure he has another account because I've seen him play Rumble and that was cracked. Talk to him, see where he's at, see if he has a top secret account where he's just clapping people in Master Tier or something. I would probably imagine he's top of Tier 2. Cookie. I haven't seen Cookie around. These last few players, I know a lot less about. I tried to DM people asking for opinions if they've seen them in houses. I personally haven't seen Cookie in in-house, so I'm gonna go mostly on his op.gg. He's a Zac and Hecarim player. Says so on the tin. I imagine he'd actually be pretty good at Lilia if his skill set carries over. I feel bad because I want to say stuff about him, but I don't want to make shit up just to talk. So curious to see how he does. I imagine he'll go tier 2 if he's that high rank. Jason, not to be confused with Jayden. Different players. It looks like another one of that clump of support. Really impressive win rates. Looks like his win rates are weighed down a little bit by his like Enchantree type champions. I looked and he actively plays the game. You'll see, scroll down. He plays the video game occasionally. A few times a day, it looks like. A little bit of a break, but shouldn't be that big of an issue. Don't be too spooked by him not playing solo queue. Some people just don't like solo queue. Is a big flex gamer though. I'm pretty sure I've seen him in flex. Does pretty well there. I imagine he has a 5-stack. You are a psychopath if you solo queue flex, by the way. That's the most unpleasant experience in League of Legends history. I could not imagine willingly doing that. That would be absurd. Curious to see how he does. I feel like that's going to be my takeaway of most of these players. I'm pretty sure I've seen. I could have sworn I've done Bub before. Maybe there's another like mobile related person I've seen before. Lee Sin in Plat. That is spooky. Bot support. Okay. Good Samira, good Zeri, good Kaisa. Interesting like solo queue aggro type champions. Usually those kind of players are reliant on supports. I feel bad that's my takeaway, but again, curious to see how he does. This is definitely a new player to SCC. I've never seen them before. I fear nobody. Jungle mid. D4, lots of Kazakhs. I'm pretty sure I've seen them in in-houses. Maybe I'm fabricating memories. Kazakhs, Trundle, Vi. Nocturne. Champions that, at least for Kazakhs and Nocturne, champions that look to get early kills after full clear in jungle or 5 camping jungle, then look into impact lanes. If you have a 65% win rate in D4, you have a pretty good idea of how to play your champions. Probably around like D2 level, probably around high tier 2 pick. Looks like they're actively climbing as well. Wait, really? Plat 4? Then they just shot up? What happened? That's curious. Looks like they're also a flex gamer. I'm a flex savant, so I have to criticize them a little bit. Okay, nothing too bad. Yeah, this is another player I would recommend reaching out to learn a little bit more about. They seem like a pretty gank-heavy player. Thoughts of KP? Curious Curious to see what they do. I want lots of junglers that just pick assassin champions and 1v9 in STC. I unironically feel like that's pretty good for the league, because it'll force players to stop playing lane like idiots. Or maybe we'll just keep playing lane like idiots and get punished perma. Who knows? Cade, CBC. Plat 3, jungle player, jungle support. Doesn't look like he plays too much support, so he's likely just going to be primary jungle. When he did actively play, did pretty well, lots of aces, some MVPs. Again, it's hard going solely on OP.gg, but you see the win rates. It looks like it's weighted down by them trying to branch out, but just those 6 champions, really sick champion pool. It looks like they're willing to play meta stuff. Looks like they're willing to actively look to improve at the game. I get the feeling they look at League of Legends content. Yeah, you see lots of red on their lesser played champs. If they stick these champions, I imagine they'll do pretty well. Those are some pretty bonkers champions. Udyr is pretty slept on, I think. Diana's pretty spooky. That champion can 1v9 games. Schneider, one of my favorite players to play with in houses. This guy's crazy. Usually, Masters level player. I have to commit to the bet. Sorry, Schneider, you've carried me in many in houses. You're a really cool guy, but you do play auction, so we're gonna have to move on. Tier 1 pick, probably, if not first round, then second round easily for him. Revnon, I'm seeing Revnon actively engaged in the community, playing lots of in-houses. I've DM'd a couple people, but I can't get like a consensus. Seems like he's a pretty solid like bruisery top laner. Don't see him play lots of ADC. I know he's been playing ADC in in-houses though. I've seen it. I swear. This champion pool just looks like a supercharged tier 4, honestly. Do you see these champions? This is like Dragon Rider on steroids. I'm excited to see how this does, mostly because no player around like D4 really does this anymore in STC. They don't play these champions. They play finesse champions. They play stuff like Camille. It's icky. I hate it. Lost in rotation. Keith, again, another player I see lots in houses. This guy's really sick at mid lane. I think he's probably better than his skill indicates. If this has been his account all along, looks like he's been playing recently and just shot up. Maybe he has like a super secret smurf before that. Maybe he got banned or something. Who knows? But if you look at these win rates, they tell the same story as that I've seen in houses. He is very good. He can dominate most mid lanes. Looks like he's going to be one of the best mid laners in SCC. Definitely tier 1 worthy. Curious to see how he does against someone like Nukes. Bot lane, might play Seraphine down there. Doesn't really, doesn't seem like you would want him off mid lane though. This seems like one of the star mid laners of the draft. Haven't seen level 100 Mafia boss around. Top jungle, plat level. Shen, Volibear, Scion, Trundle. You see in plat leagues lots of players like this. They play like the beef balls, scale pretty decently. Looks like he also actively plays jungle as a secondary. Doesn't look like too many jungle games I have written down, but solid top laner, plat. Pick him up tier 2. If you can get him tier 3, he'll probably do pretty well. It's my initial impressions. It also looks like he farms really well. If you look 7.5, seems like he might be doing a little bit of some good deaths. Maybe he's chilling up there, maybe a little bit. Never a bad strategy. Oh yeah, this guy watches it. Gragas and Scion, you know. We're almost towards the end of it. Got Emerald Dow. I feel like I butchered their name. Emerald Dow. Okay, support bot. No Thursdays. Fair enough as a restriction. Looks like they actively play both the rules. If they play Mage's bot, that's pretty cool. Yeah, again, I feel like this is going to be the story for the next couple players. Don't really have too much to say about them. Don't know what they're saying. Wish them all the best, because happy to see new people in STC. Was Diamond last couple seasons. Solid plus, Diamond 3, Diamond 3, Diamond 2. Probably knows how not to get stomped by higher level players, which not all tier 2 players know. Some of them just get dumpstered by higher level players. Probably value. Out of all the ADCs I've seen around this level, him and Dlom definitely stand out. Emerald, I'd keep an eye out. I feel like they're going to be a player to watch. 55 Ezreal. Azrael. Jungle top lane looks like they mostly play jungle. Play heavy ganking champions. Rammus can run down the lane. Jarvan, obviously, the early ganks. 4 clear into gank. Could even 2 clear if you're looking to burger flip the entire game. This whole thing is just picking a lane and deciding they don't get to play League of Legends. Or multiple lanes, who knows? Uh, if you know this player, you recommended this player, probably want to play with them. Oh my god, this game looks like a disaster. I'm not trying to single anybody out, but if you see 0-12, you know that's a rough one. Sometimes if you play that, yeah, sometimes if you play that heavy ganking style, and you get invaded or you die early and you can't find anything, the laners are too fed to gank, you can't really play League of Legends. Happens. It's unfortunate. Fiddlesticks. Love to see it. Yeah, I feel like they could probably go tier 3. If they're tier 4, I think they would just be like a ChipsAhoyYoBoy type player, but with a bit more finesse, a bit more experience. Looks like they've been playing since season 4. Looks like they're going to be a heavy gank and jungler. Requires lots of communication. Hopefully they talk quite a bit. Excited to see them in the league. Finally, we're going to round it out with Arsenals. Arsenals, is this one of the Lexus goons? Or maybe I'm mistaken. They were Master Tier past 2 seasons, down in Plat 1 right now. I imagine, again, this just means they either swap roles, stop playing actively. Looks like they play pretty actively, so that's probably not it. I'm curious to see why they dropped. What were they playing last season? Oh, they were playing support last season. Okay. So they hit Masters on support. They were trying out mid jungle. Looks like they do decent plat level easily. If you reach that high rank, I assume you know what your role needs to do to win the game, what you need to do as a mid laner. Seems like they probably roam quite a bit if they've been a support player. I'm just saying stuff at this point. I'm going to wrap it up. That's been my rundown of every player on this list. I know there's a couple more players. Maybe before draft day, I talk about the players I missed or talk about players you want to hear about in a bit more detail. It's been a long video. I'm dying inside. I'm going to die outside now. It's been a pleasure. Bye bye.